Tonight, Poland's skies blaze with tension. Russian drones have breached Polish airspace. Lublin airport closed. Fighter jets scrambled. A government on high alert. NATO has responded. The Operation Eastern Sentry. This is not just another headline. Borders, alliances, and the fragile peace in Europe are being tested. Welcome to Tactical Signal, where we follow the signals before war breaks out. Here's the sequence of events. On Sunday, the 13th of September, Polish authorities declared a preventive operation after receiving credible intelligence of drone threats originating from neighboring Ukraine's border regions. Authorities deployed Polish and Allied aircraft, along with ground-based radar and air defense systems. The airport in Lublin, eastern Poland, close to the border, was temporarily closed. Airspace restrictions were imposed. Civilian traffic halted. This followed an earlier incident on Thursday 9/10 Sept, when multiple Russian drones crossed into Polish airspace. Poland, backed by NATO, shot down some of them. This was one of the most serious violations, yet more than just air patrols. Poland viewed it as escalation. So the timeline is drone incursion midweek to alert and preventive operations over weekend to NATO's posture begins shifting. The government says it's to protect its citizens and secure airspace, especially near vulnerable border zones. Lublin's closure was short-term, but symbolic. Poland is no longer waiting passively. Chapter 2, Eastern Sentry, NATO's response and new strategy 337.
NATO's air defenses were activated and successfully ensured the defense of NATO territory. Whilst this was the largest concentration of violations of NATO airspace that we have seen,
NATO's response to these threats has been swift. On the 12th of September, Secretary General Mark Rutte, alongside military leadership, announced the Eastern Sentry Initiative. The objective: strengthen NATO's eastern flank, reinforcing defenses, improving surveillance, increasing readiness. What does this reinforcement include? Deployment of fighter jets from France, Denmark, and other ally nations to forward bases near the Poland-Belarus, divided by Russia, divided by Ukraine borders. Naval assets and surface forces moving into alert positions. Some reports mention frigates being placed on standby, ready for rapid deployment in the Baltic or nearby seas. Ground-based air defenses, radars, missile batteries, being shifted or upgraded to cover blind spots along border areas. Increased coordination among NATO allies, shared intelligence, early warning assets, joint air patrols. Solidarity emphasized in official statements saying airspace violation. Eastern Sentry is meant as both deterrent and preparedness. It tells Russia, your provocations won't go unanswered. But also it tells NATO members, we must be ready for worse. Chapter 3, Polish reaction and domestic fallout 710. Poland's response hasn't been only military. There's a growing domestic push for readiness. Prime Minister Donald Tusk has publicly backed these preventive operations. Airspace protectiveness is portrayed as normal state duty, a government committed to protecting citizens amid growing threats. Ground-based defenses and reconnaissance systems have been placed on near highest alert. Local border counties near Ukraine have been issued airstrike warnings. Citizens are being advised of possible drone debris, transient dangers. Civil aviation is disrupted. Lublin airport closure is both symbolic and practical. Airports briefly closed, flights diverted or delayed. This shows the reach of conflict, not just in border patrols, but in everyday life. Public sentiment, fear, but also resolve. Poland has seen increased volunteer enlistment and interest in civil defense. Many view Eastern Sentry as overdue. Chapter 4, The Threat from Russia and the Incursions, 10-13-30. To understand what Poland and NATO are reacting to, we must look at Russia's tactics in recent weeks. The incursions. Dozens of drones crossing border zones, some shot down, some debris recovered, most coming through Belarus or near eastern Ukraine. Russia claims many are unintended or off course due to jamming, but multiple European intelligence sources dispute this. Concurrently, Zapad 2025 military exercises between Russia and Belarus are increasing tension. These exercises include flights by Russian jets carrying hypersonic missiles like Kinzhal class, naval drills, missile tests, and readiness operations near NATO's borders. These acts are viewed by Warsaw and NATO as demonstrations of force. Airspace violations are no longer only military statements. They risk being escalations if drones drift further, intersect with civilian air traffic, or if an incursion causes accidental damage. Aviation safety is now a concern. Several border counties are affected by warnings. airlines are rerouting divided by flights delayed, insurance and operational costs rising. Russia's strategy appears to be layered, test NATO's reaction time, create ambiguity. Are they targeting Ukraine or trying to provoke a NATO response? Increase psychological and diplomatic pressure, sow uncertainty among NATO members. Chapter 5. Escalation Scenarios. 1330-1630. Now, what could happen next? The tension is real, and there are several paths this could go. Scenario: a de-escalation. Russia acknowledges one of the drones strayed. NATO makes it clear that further violations will be met strongly, but diplomacy kicks in. NATO may increase patrols and surveillance, but avoid direct confrontation. Poland continues airspace protection, civilian institutions adjust, but wartime alert does not spread. Scenario B. Limited clash. One drone is shot down, debris falls in Polish territory. A civilian area is hit by drone or falling debris. Scenario C. Full escalation. A misidentification leads to a direct Russian strike inside Poland or NATO, believing a deliberate attack was launched, carries out retaliation. We could see NATO response with airstrikes, sanctions. Indicator events to watch. Statements from Moscow divided by Kremlin. Are they acknowledging incursions or accusing Poland divided by NATO? Satellite imagery of troop divided by missile deployments near Belarus-Poland border. Airspace violations increasing in frequency or duration. NATO meetings and public communiques. Secretary General, member states leaders. Civilian reaction. Panic. Chapter 6. Global implications. 1630-1930 voice. This tension isn't only about Poland. It reflects larger dynamics. NATO cohesion. Eastern European NATO members are betting their security on strong collective defense. How countries like Germany, France, Denmark, UK contribute will matter. If allies falter, Poland may feel exposed. Airlines and governments will have to adjust. Defense spending and readiness. Poland has already boosted spending, built up its eastern border forces, and is increasingly prioritizing mobility and air defense. If this trend spreads, NATO's eastern flank will look significantly different in 2 years. Diplomacy and sanctions. EU, US, NATO are being tested diplomatically. How strongly will sanctions be applied? Will NATO enforce no-flight zones near borders? Will Russia be held accountable or be able to deflect blame? These decisions will shape international norms. Risk of regional escalation. Belarus will matter its cooperation or failure to control border activity. Also, Ukraine's responses, civilian safety, refugee flows, economic impact for border communities. Chapter 7. What to watch next and final word, 1930-21. In the coming days and weeks, these are the key signals to monitor. New press releases from NATO, especially statements of escalation or defense pledges. Satellite imagery. Missile launchers, aircraft deployment near Polish, divided by Belarus border, logistic buildup, civilian reports of airspace disturbances or near misses, responses from Russia, whether they deny, admit, or escalate discourse, any changes in domestic policy in Poland or neighboring states, for example, border security, volunteer military training. Poland's skies are no longer safe. The threat of Russian drones has moved from distant conflict to front border emergency. NATO's Eastern Sentry may be the defining marquee defense posture of 2025. If you want to stay ahead of these signals, you need real-time maps, credible sources, and clear analysis. That's what Tactical Signal promises. Subscribe now, ring the bell, because the next missile might not be announced, it will be seen, and the world will change from what you see on the map.